I wanted to come and talk to you today about technology and innovation in London and how we might build on the incredible heritage of London, the amazing history and stories of this great capital, to create an even better future for all of us, a future in which technology and innovation help create new jobs and growth right across this city. A couple of years ago, I created an initiative called Tech City, which was launched by the Prime Minister in November 2010. And that initiative is all about trying to get behind the cluster of technology companies bubbling up in East London. 2 years ago, there were about 200 companies in that area. There's now about 1,200 companies in that area. It's far and away, we think, the fastest growing technology cluster, certainly in Europe, and potentially even the world. And what really interests me about Tech City and technology in London is that as new and buzzing as that kind of growth and innovation is, it's based on a set of enduring characteristics about London that I think are informing the way London is growing and developing. And also for those of us who work in policy, I think ought to inform the way we think about the policies and the frameworks that London needs if it's going to be as successful over the next 1,000 years as it has been in the past. And so what I'd like to do is pick on 3 places in London, 3 very special places that I think tell us something about the enduring character of London, and therefore about the policies that I think all of us ought to be thinking about in order to make sure London is really, really successful in the years to come. And the first of these places is not on the screen. Is this place here. Thanks, man. Is this place here. It's called Royal Avenue, and it's in Chelsea. And the reason that Royal Avenue is so special is not just because Richard Rogers lives along there, but it's because that boulevard you see was designed by Christopher Wren. And it runs up to his Royal Hospital. And what that boulevard is a tiny fragment, one of the only fragments of the strategic master plan for London created after the Great Fire in 1666. And after the Great Fire, after the conflagration, the city authorities said to themselves, let's do what Philip says rightly, London tends not to do, which is come up with a central plan. And they started building this plan. It took them a while to work it out, but they started building it. And what happened next? Well, what happened next was that this beautiful Cartesian rational vision bumped into messy reality. And the messy reality was that the merchants and the shopkeepers in London simply built their streets and houses and shops along the old lines that went before. And so this great master plan was stymied by the messy, exuberant, bottom-up nature of London. And I think this is still true today. When it came to Tech City, what we deliberately weren't doing and trying to do was drop something hubristically out of the sky. Instead, we were trying to get behind an innovation that had bubbled up from below. And I think we can apply this logic elsewhere in London when it comes to policy. Because if you think about it, really only a few years ago, people thought that the way that cities would develop would be you'd have a big computer in the center of the city, essentially as a kind of master planner. A big computer that would handle the energy systems and the transport systems, controlling information flows and people flows around a great metropolis. And of course, that's not actually how things are developing. That's not actually how innovation happens. It comes through dispersed knowledge, dispersed, messy, bottom-up information and power. And one of the things that really excites me about London is that we are on the verge of, I think, becoming a real future city, a global leader in this kind of innovation, making use of the data being spat out of millions, billions even, of sensors right across a city like London. Mobile phones, smart meters in homes, GPS trackers in cars. You know, all of these data points what are the apps and services that can help make our cities more sustainable and more effective and more efficient that can be built using all that data. So in Tech City, and this is something that we're very, very proud of, we're creating 3 new institutions. The Open Data Institute, the Smart and Connected Cities Lab run by Intel, that's a £50 million investment, and a new collaboration between University College London and Imperial College London, also in East London, to create a Smart and Connected Cities Lab. And what all of these institutions have in common is they're making use of that messy, bottom-up data being span out of cities in order to create new services that can be sold around the world. And that innovation is happening right here in London, right here in Tech City. And I really think that when we think about the next waves of innovation that are going to change our planet, a rapidly urbanizing planet, those innovations deriving from the messy, bottom-up character of London are really exciting. And I think something that certainly we are going to really double down on in the years ahead. The second place I want to talk to you about, and the second characteristic of London, is to do with this place here. Slightly less picturesque than Royal Avenue in Chelsea. This is a place called Southampton Row. And Southampton Row is near Holborn in central London. And on a morning in 1933, the 12th of September 1933, a young man called Leo Szilard was crossing the street. And Leo Szilard was a very special young man. He was in his early 30s, and he was a physicist. He was a Hungarian physicist, and he'd studied under Albert Einstein and Max Planck in Berlin. And the reason that he was in London was that he was Jewish and had fled Nazi persecution. This morning, as he was crossing the road, an epiphany struck him as he watched the traffic lights change. And this epiphany was about a nuclear chain reaction and how a nuclear chain reaction might work. He had a realization that if you fire a neutron at a uranium nucleus, it would create 2 more neutrons that could in turn hit other nuclei. Anyway, the point being that he realized that a nuclear chain reaction might be possible. And it was that insight that led to the Manhattan Project, led to the creation of the atomic bomb. It changed the direction of the Second World War. It certainly changed the direction of the 20th century with the Cold War and so on. These developments deeply troubled Leo Szilard. He was a peacenik. He was someone that was distressed by the dropping of the nuclear bomb. But the reason I raise this moment in time, this place, is that I think it tells us something about London. And that point is that fundamentally London has always been, and should always continue to be, open to ideas and people from outside. Because it's those people and those ideas from outside that can change London and change the world. And so it's no coincidence, no accident, I think, that when we launched Tech City, in the very speech launching Tech City from the Prime Minister, we also announced an entrepreneur visa. And the UK is now the only country in the world to have an entrepreneur visa, a visa that says if you've got a great idea for a business and you're outside of the EU and you get invested in by a British investor, well, that entrepreneur can come straight into the UK. The red carpet is rolled out. And I just think that's so important. And London, above all places, has that openness and confidence of spirit to welcome in people from anywhere around the world. Again, when it comes to Tech City, we've brought in the likes of Google, who've created an amazing campus building in East London, General Assembly, the New York education outfit, who've built a brilliant education space in East London, Yammer, Amazon, I mean, just hundreds of examples of people and companies from outside being brought in to enrich our city. And one of the things we're working on now, and just to let you in on a mini secret, is that we want to cast the net even wider. And so one of the things we're going to be doing in the next few months is launching a global business plan competition. Really focus at the best business schools around the world, saying to them, your best graduates, your best business school graduates, if you win this business plan competition or do very well, you get a free pass to London. We'll get you some space, we'll help you set up. We want the best teams and the best people from around the world to continue to enrich this great city. And as Leo Szilard found, this is a city that is incredibly open to ideas and people wherever they come, and long may that continue. The third and final place I want to take you to is perhaps even more unpromising. This is Stepney in East London, pretty close to here, and the street is Cable Street. And on the 4th of October 1936, a march was brewing. This was a march of fascists, the British Union of Fascists, led by Oswald Mosley. And 1936 was a pretty scary time, I think, in lots of parts of Europe. Mussolini was in power in Italy, Hitler was in power in Germany, and a civil war was raging in Spain. And so when fascists came to march in East London, down Cable Street, this is the sort of thing, sadly, that had happened in lots of places on the continent. But this day, this moment, this place, this city, had a very different response to other parts of Europe. Because as 3,000 fascists tried to march down Cable Street, 100,000 people from East London and across London rose up to stop them. Their mantra, their refrain was, "They shall not pass." And they used whatever instruments, chair legs, candlesticks, women were throwing chamber pots out of windows, whatever they could to stop the fascists and to stop the police who were trying to help the fascists get down the street. And the 100,000 who rose up were ultimately successful. They prevailed. The fascists had to disperse. They had to regroup and meet in Hyde Park. But the battle was won. The fight was won. And I think this tells us something about London, that in spite of inequalities and differences and all the incredible evolution and change that we're here to describe and celebrate today, there is a sense of solidarity and community in London that is really worth celebrating and building on. And that is something that we're doing today, because today the government is announcing, in conjunction with Hackney Community College, the creation of Tech City apprenticeships. And these are going to be 500 apprenticeships over the next couple of years. And we've got the likes of Google and Facebook, Tech Hub, Poke London, a whole range of fantastic companies, moo.com in East London, who've all signed up to take on 16 to 24-year-old unemployed kids from Hackney and Tower Hamlets and across East London. And the reason to me this is so important is not just because these kind of companies in Tech City are the places where lots of young people want to live and work. It's not just that. It's because the success of Tech City, I think, brings with it a sense of social responsibility. And it's incredibly important that as the economy grows, as technology and innovation grows, we also think too about what our obligations are to those who are left behind. And these Tech City apprenticeships, I think, are building on that spirit and that character of London, which has stood us in such good stead over the centuries. And I hope will continue to stand us in good stead in the years ahead. So those are my three places, my three characteristics of London: messy, bottom-up nature of things, an openness to ideas and people wherever they might come, but also a sense of solidarity, of common purpose that can hold us together even as things change. I'm incredibly confident about London and London's future as a technology centre for the world. And I think as long as we have our eyes on the past, there's no reason why we shouldn't have our eyes on a very bright future indeed. Thank you very much.